The boardroom was chaos. Alarms flashed red across glass walls. Engineers shouted code. Phones rang. Laptops smoked. And in the middle of it sat Gabrielle Montgomery, the woman everyone in tech called the Ice Queen of Chicago. 36, billionaire, founder of Phoenix Tech, a genius who never blinked. But today, her eyes were trembling. The servers crashed again. Her CTO gasped. "We're bleeding money." "How much?" she asked without looking up. "Enough to lose Johnson Industries by morning. That contract alone is $100 million a year." She froze. $100 million. Gone. 3 years of work gone. What are our top engineers saying? They don't know. Everything looks perfect on paper, but it keeps collapsing under real load. "Then find the problem," she snapped. "We've been looking for 3 days." A knock cut through the noise. Her assistant peeked in. "Miss Montgomery, delivery for you." "Now? I'm in a crisis." "It's from the patent office, ma'am. You said to bring anything from them immediately." "Fine, send them in." The door opened. A tall black man stepped inside wearing a brown uniform. His badge read Trevor Washington. He set an envelope on the table. "Delivery for Gabrielle Montgomery." She signed automatically. Didn't look up. He turned to leave, then stopped. His eyes caught the giant screen behind her, full of lines of code scrolling like static lightning. "Excuse me," he said quietly. Everyone looked at him like he'd sworn in church. "What?" Gabrielle asked, annoyed. "There's an error in your code. 12 engineers stared. I'm sorry." He pointed. Line 847. "You've got a recursive loop. It's leaking memory. It'll work in small tests but die at scale." The room held its breath. Her CTO frowned, typing fast. "Wait, that's... Oh my God, he's right." Gabrielle finally looked at the man who'd just said what no one else could see. "How did you know that?" "I wrote my master's thesis on scalable cloud systems," Trevor said simply. "MIT class of 19. A delivery driver. MIT." Her world tilted. "What's the fix?" "Replace the recursion with iteration. Add garbage collection every 10,000 cycles. Load balance your threads." Her CTO was already implementing. The monitors blinked green. Errors disappeared. Performance shot up. 99.7% stability. Better than ever. The room exhaled as if waking from a nightmare. Gabrielle stood slowly. "What's your name again?" "Trevor Washington." "And you work? Delivery?" "Yes, ma'am. Metro Delivery Service. Been doing this route 6 months." She stared at him like he was a ghost. A man carrying envelopes had just saved $100 million. Her voice was soft now. "Mr. Washington, we need to talk." He hesitated at the door. "Yes, ma'am?" "Stay right here." Because Gabrielle Montgomery had just realized the most brilliant mind in her company wasn't even on her payroll, and the world, and her heart, were about to change forever. An hour later, the chaos had quieted. But Gabrielle's mind hadn't. Her entire team, the so-called best in the country, had been beaten by a delivery driver. She sat in her private glass office, the city lights of Chicago glittering behind her, and watched the man who'd saved her company sit calmly across the table. No arrogance, no nerves, just quiet focus. "So," she began, "MIT, master's degree in computer science." "Yes, ma'am. And now you deliver packages." Trevor's eyes didn't waver. "Sometimes you take what's available until the world catches up to who you are," she frowned. "What does that mean?" He hesitated. "It means I've sent over 200 applications. 3 interviews. Every time I walked in I saw the same look. Shock. Like they expected someone else." Gabrielle felt her throat tighten. "You think it's because you're—" He nodded. "Because I'm not what their idea of a senior engineer looks like." "Just the hum of the city. What do you do now?" she asked quietly. "I deliver packages by day, code at night. My little sister's still in high school. I'm her guardian. She wants to go to college. That's the dream I'm working for." Gabrielle leaned back, her expression unreadable. The man sitting across from her wasn't bitter, just determined. And that, somehow, made it worse. "Do you understand what you did today?" Trevor smiled faintly. "I fixed a loop." "No," she said, leaning forward. "You saved a $100 million contract. You saved this company." He blinked as if realizing the scope for the first time. "I didn't know it was that serious." "It was," She stood, walking toward the window. The skyline reflected on the glass between them. Two silhouettes, one powerful, one underestimated. Finally, she turned. "I'm offering you a position here. Senior software engineer. Starting salary, $150. Full benefits. And I'll personally make sure your sister gets a full scholarship." Trevor froze. "Why?" "Because you just proved you're the kind of mind this company needs. And if I say no, then you'll go back to delivering mail while my competitors beg to steal you from me." He laughed softly, the first real sound of warmth she'd heard all day. "You don't give people time to think, do you?" "Time is money, Mr. Washington." "Then I guess I'll save you both." He stood and shook her hand. His grip was steady, warm. "Thank you, Miss Montgomery." "Gabrielle," she corrected before she could stop herself. He hesitated. "Gabrielle." And for a moment it wasn't the billionaire and the delivery man. It was just two people who'd seen something rare in each other. Potential, respect, maybe even a spark neither wanted to admit. As he left the office, Gabrielle turned to the window again. Down below, traffic moved like veins through the city. Steady, alive. She didn't know it yet, but she'd just hired the man who would test every belief she had about power, love, and what truly defines worth Monday morning hit like a storm. Gabrielle Montgomery, billionaire CEO of Phoenix Tech, was used to storms. But this one had a name. Trevor Washington. He walked through the glass lobby in a crisp white shirt, posture straight, eyes calm. Every head turned. Whispers rippled through the open office. "That's the guy? The delivery man. Seriously?" She hired him. Gabrielle watched from her glass office above, expression unreadable. She'd seen sharks circle in business deals before, but this was worse. These were her own people circling blood in the water. By 10 a.m., the first email hit her inbox. Subject: concerns regarding department standards. It came from Harold Peterson, her CTO, the same man whose system Trevor had saved. Within an hour, he'd gathered 7 senior engineers in Conference Room B. They weren't discussing code. They were discussing Trevor. Gabrielle walked in mid-sentence. "Just because he got lucky once doesn't mean he's qualified," Harold was saying. "Luck?" Gabrielle's voice cut through the room like a blade. Silence. Every head turned. "Luck didn't save this company. Talent did," she said. "And in case you've forgotten, your luck was crashing servers." No one spoke. "Do any of you even know his credentials?" Blank faces. She stepped closer. MIT graduate. Master's in computer science. Published in 3 major journals. GPA 3.9. And he solved in 30 seconds what your team couldn't fix in 3 days. Harold swallowed. "We're just concerned about the precedent this sets." "The precedent," Gabrielle said evenly, "is that brilliance matters more than pedigree." Her gaze hardened. "Trevor Washington starts work today, and anyone uncomfortable with that can start polishing their resumes." She left before they could answer. Outside, Trevor stood waiting by the elevator. He'd heard everything. "You didn't have to do that," he said quietly. "Yes, I did. They'll hate me for it." "They already do," Gabrielle replied, then paused. "Now prove them wrong." Trevor smiled. A small, knowing smile. "That's what I do best." By the end of the week, his code had silenced every skeptic. He rewrote entire systems from memory, optimized data flow, and uncovered bugs no one knew existed. He didn't gloat. He didn't brag. He just worked. Calm, precise, unstoppable. Gabrielle found herself watching him from her office more than she should have, noticing how he carried himself, how he stayed kind even when others weren't. One afternoon, she passed his desk and found him helping a junior engineer debug her code. Patient, explaining each line until she understood. He didn't see Gabrielle watching. He didn't need to. For the first time in years, she saw something in her company that money couldn't buy. Humility with genius. Strength without ego, and for reasons she couldn't explain. She couldn't stop thinking about him. By week 2, Phoenix Tech was running smoother than it had in months. Servers stable, bugs gone, clients happy, and at the center of it all, the man who used to deliver their mail. Trevor Washington had become a quiet legend. He arrived early, stayed late, asked questions no one else thought to ask, and solved problems no one else could even define. He didn't seek attention, but excellence has a way of commanding it. One evening, long after most of the office lights had gone dark, Gabrielle noticed his desk lamp still glowing. She hesitated outside his glass cubicle. He was hunched over lines of code, fingers moving fast, expression focused but calm. It wasn't just skill, it was art. "You don't sleep, do you?" she said softly from the doorway. Trevor looked up, startled. "You either," she smiled. "CEOs don't sleep. They strategize at 2 a.m. and regret it by 7. He chuckled quietly, then turned back to his screen. Gabrielle stepped closer. "What are you working on?" "Security protocol optimization. I found a redundancy in the encryption layers. It's wasting memory cycles." She leaned over, watching the matrix of data scroll past. "You found that in one night?" "Just noticed a pattern. Sometimes problems reveal themselves, when you stop looking too hard." There was silence, the kind that hums when two people understand each other without words. She studied him for a moment. The quiet confidence, the ease, the complete lack of arrogance. "Do you ever get angry?" she asked suddenly. Trevor blinked. "Angry?" "Yes, at how people treat you, what they assume." His eyes softened. "Anger doesn't fix systems. Solutions do." Gabrielle felt the weight of that answer. It was something she hadn't heard in years. Wisdom without ego. "Trevor," she said, her voice quieter now. "You could have gone anywhere. Why stay here?" He looked at her for a long moment before answering. "Because this company gave me a chance. You gave me a chance. And I don't walk away from people who believe in me." Gabrielle looked away, partly because of the intensity in his eyes, partly because something unfamiliar stirred inside her. Respect, admiration, something deeper she wasn't ready to name. A storm flickered outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, lightning cutting across the Chicago skyline. He saved her company. And now, somehow, he was saving something in her too, something she didn't realize was broken. "Trevor," she said softly, "how do you always stay so calm?" "Because I know where I started," he said, "and I know where I'm going." As the thunder rolled across the city, Gabrielle realized that for the first time in her life she wasn't thinking about contracts or shareholders. She was thinking about a delivery man who saw what no one else could, in her company, and, maybe, in her. The calm didn't last. It never does when change walks into a system built on comfort. By Monday morning, whispers had turned into noise. Slack channels buzzed. Hallway chatter thickened. The delivery man who saved the company was now the CEO's favorite. Gabrielle heard it all, of course. You can't lead a billion-dollar empire without hearing the echoes. It started small, comments masked as jokes. "Guess it pays to make good deliveries. Promotion speed of light, huh? Maybe I should take up delivery driving." But by the end of the week, it wasn't whispers anymore. It was a meeting. Conference room B again. Always conference room B, she stepped in, uninvited but fully aware. Harold Peterson, her CTO, was at the head of the table. "Look," he was saying, "I'm not questioning his intelligence. I'm questioning his experience. He bypassed every hiring process we have. It's not how things are done." "How things are done?" Gabrielle said, voice sharp enough to slice the air. Every head snapped toward her. "Trevor Washington didn't bypass anything," she continued. "He solved what none of you could. That's not skipping a process, that's redefining it." Sandra Mills crossed her arms. "We're not comfortable with favoritism, Gabrielle." "Favoritism?" Gabrielle stepped closer. "Favoritism is giving people second chances because you went to the same golf club. This is merit." Harold tried to steady the moment. "It's not personal. We just think his background, she repeated slowly. "Yes, he doesn't exactly fit the image of a senior engineer." The silence that followed was electric. She looked at him, really looked, and saw not just a man protecting his ego, but a reflection of a system that always did. "The image?" Gabrielle said softly. "You mean he doesn't look like you?" The words landed like a thunderclap. Harold flushed. Sandra shifted in her chair. "This company was built on innovation," Gabrielle continued, "on seeing what others can't. If you can't see brilliance because it comes in a different shade or uniform, you're in the wrong room." She left without waiting for an answer. Outside, Trevor was waiting by the elevator again, the same place as before. "I heard shouting," he said. "Let's call it a company realignment," she replied. He smiled faintly, but she could see the exhaustion behind it. "Gabrielle, you can't keep fighting my battles." "I'm not," she said quietly. "I'm fighting for the kind of company I want to lead." Their eyes met, two worlds colliding, held together by mutual respect and something neither dared name aloud. The elevator doors opened. For a moment, they just stood there. A black man who saved her company and a white CEO who refused to let him be diminished. And as the doors closed behind them, Gabrielle realized something terrifying. She wasn't defending him anymore. She was protecting him. The storm had passed, at least on paper. But peace doesn't live long inside billion-dollar walls. 2 weeks after the confrontation, Gabrielle noticed something new in the building. Silence. The kind that comes with judgment. The kind that follows every time Trevor walked into a room. Yet he never flinched. He worked, smiled, mentored junior developers. When others mocked behind his back, he simply asked, "How can I help?" That quiet grace. It disarmed her more than any argument. It was 10:47 p.m. when she found him still in the office one night. The city lights painted silver lines across the glass walls. "Still here?" she asked, stepping in with 2 cups of coffee. Trevor looked up, surprised but calm. "Deadlines don't respect sleep." She smiled, handing him the cup. "Neither do CEOs." For a moment, they just stood there, the hum of servers filling the silence. Then Gabrielle said, "I watched your code review today. You fixed an encryption issue that's been haunting us for months." Trevor shrugged. "Just logic." "No," she said softly. "It's brilliance." He froze, not because of the compliment, but the tone behind it. Something unguarded, personal. "I don't understand something," she said. "With your mind, your degree, your record, how could the world overlook you?" Trevor looked out at the skyline, the lights reflecting in his eyes. "When I show up for interviews, Gabrielle, I see it happen. Their smiles shift, their tone changes. They start asking if I'm sure I understand the culture of their team." He laughed quietly without humor. "I guess my culture makes them uncomfortable." She said nothing, because there was nothing to defend. Only the ache of truth filling the room between them. He looked at her then. Really looked. "You know, when I met you in that boardroom, I didn't expect any of this." "Any of what?" she asked. "You saw me. Not just my job. Not my skin. Me." She stepped closer. "Maybe for the first time, I'm seeing myself too." The hum of the city outside seemed to slow. For a heartbeat, it wasn't CEO and employee. It was just 2 people who'd been fighting too long to prove they belonged. And in that fragile quiet, something broke free. Not weakness, but connection. Their hands brushed as she reached for his cup. The spark was instant, undeniable. Neither moved. Neither spoke. Finally, Gabrielle whispered, "This is dangerous." Trevor smiled faintly. "So is brilliance." The air between them thickened with everything unspoken. Admiration, fear, longing, defiance. She stepped back first. "Good night, Trevor." He nodded, his voice steady but soft. "Good night, Gabrielle." When the door closed behind her, both of them knew. The line they'd drawn between respect and desire had just blurred, and there was no going back. The story broke before they were ready. A blurry photo. A rooftop restaurant. Her hand on his. His smile. Soft, unguarded. The headline hit by morning. Phoenix Tech CEO and former delivery driver. Corporate affair or true love. By 9 a.m., every phone in the building was buzzing. By noon, every board member wanted answers. Gabrielle stood at her office window, scrolling through the chaos. Social media, news channels, even investor emails. Trevor entered quietly, his face unreadable. "So," he said, "I guess we're news now." She looked up, tired but composed. "I should have seen this coming." "You couldn't have," he replied. "The world hates what it doesn't understand." She turned toward him. "They'll say you used me, and they'll say you lost control," he finished. They shared a bitter smile. The door burst open. Jennifer, pale, whispered, "They're calling an emergency board meeting in 1 hour." Gabrielle nodded, heart pounding. Let them. An hour later, she faced 7 people who controlled billions, and thought they controlled her. "Gabrielle," said Charles Morrison, the oldest and most conservative of them all, "we need to discuss optics." "Optics?" she repeated slowly. "You mean my relationship?" Yes, Charles said. Your scandal. Across the table, Linda Crawford folded her hands. This company's reputation is on the line. Investors are nervous. Clients are asking questions. Gabrielle glanced at Trevor beside her, calm but tense. And what exactly do you want from me? Richard Blackwell leaned forward. End it. The word fell like a sentence. And what? This relationship. Quietly, respectfully, for the sake of the company. The silence that followed felt heavy enough to crush the room. Finally, Gabrielle said, Trevor Washington saved this company. Not just once, but repeatedly. He's built systems your engineers couldn't dream of. He's not my weakness. He's my strength, Charles sighed. Be rational, Gabrielle. A woman in your position cannot afford sentiment, especially not with someone like him, she interrupted sharply. The air froze. Yes, he said quietly. Trevor's jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. Gabrielle rose from her chair. I thought Phoenix Tech was built on innovation, on breaking barriers, but apparently that ends where your prejudice begins. Gabrielle, Linda warned, don't do this. She looked each of them in the eye. I already have. She reached for Trevor's hand. He hesitated only a moment, then took it. Gasps rippled through the room. Fire me if you want, she said. Replace me. Write your press statements. But you won't rewrite my integrity. The board sat stunned as she walked out, her heels clicking like gunshots on marble. In the elevator, Trevor said quietly, You didn't have to do that. I did, she replied, voice trembling but sure, because silence was killing me faster than scandal ever could. Outside, the cameras were waiting, but for the first time, Gabrielle didn't hide. She took his hand again, this time in daylight, and the world, for one breathless second, forgot how to judge. It took 3 days for the world to decide whether to destroy them or celebrate them. 3 days of headlines. 3 days of speculation. 3 days of silence from Gabrielle Montgomery, the woman who once moved markets with a single statement. Then came day 4. The company's auditorium filled to capacity. Employees, journalists, cameras, curiosity. Every seat taken. Every eye fixed on the stage. Gabrielle walked out first. Calm, poised. Trevor followed, dressed simply, his presence quiet but commanding. She stood before the microphone and said the words that would define her legacy. Phoenix Tech was built on breaking barriers, she began. Innovation isn't just about technology, it's about courage. It's about refusing to let fear decide who's worthy of standing beside you. She took a slow breath. Trevor Washington isn't my controversy. He's my proof. Proof that brilliance has no uniform, no color, and no permission slip. The room was utterly silent. Even the camera shutters paused. Trevor stepped forward, his voice steady, low, unshakable. I didn't come here looking for opportunity. I came to deliver a package. Soft laughter rippled through the crowd. But what I found was a company that needed one thing, a reminder that greatness doesn't always arrive in a suit. Sometimes it shows up in a delivery uniform with a dream. The employees rose to their feet. The applause began. Hesitant, then unstoppable. And for the first time the world saw them not as scandal, but as a story worth believing in. By the next quarter, Phoenix Tech didn't just recover, it soared. Investors returned. New contracts poured in. Headlines changed from outrage to admiration. Love and logic. How a CEO and a delivery driver reinvented corporate leadership. Months later, in the same boardroom where it all began, Trevor waited with a small box in his hand. When Gabrielle entered, she froze, seeing the table covered in petals, the city lights glowing behind him. Trevor, he smiled. You once told me I made you see yourself differently. You did. Then let me ask you to see the rest of your life differently too. He knelt. Gabrielle Montgomery, will you marry me? Her answer was instant. A whisper wrapped in tears. Yes. When she kissed him, the city outside looked brighter, as if it knew. Months later at their wedding, the press didn't call it a scandal. They called it a revolution, a reminder that sometimes love is the most disruptive innovation of all. As the music faded, Gabrielle turned to the camera with a smile. If this story moved you, comment one word that describes what you felt. And if you believe love is stronger than prejudice, share this story right now, because somewhere, someone still needs to hear that brilliance has no color and love no limits.